We're here to talk about a subject that is really at the center of local and national politics in America today. And I get the pleasure of introducing our three panelists. Starting in the middle, Dr. Robert Ross. He's a spirited, enthusiastic champion of LA, and he's an engaging, cheerful observer of its politics. I can tell you this on a personal note: if you ever get stuck at a boring dinner in Los Angeles, the person you want to be seated next to is Bob, which is pretty much my highest endorsement for a civic leader.
He didn't say you.
Next, on my far left, maybe appropriately, Greg Boyle, Father Greg Boyle. Father Boyle was born in Los Angeles. He was ordained a priest in 1984, and in the years since, he has become the genuine spiritual leader of the Los Angeles that I inhabit. There are hundreds, even thousands, of men and women in Los Angeles today who are alive because of the work of Homeboy and its founder. It is among the great honors of my life to call him my friend. Sorry.
You didn't get choked up when you were introducing me.
Yeah, right. Last but never least, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. The mayor and I first met more than 15 years ago at a Pollo Loco in mid-Wilshire. I wrote a profile of him that year for the LA Times, and I described Speaker Villaraigosa as impetuous, brash, pragmatic, refreshingly liberal, and impeccably dressed. I think that holds up pretty well, if I do say so myself. But I could have added passionate, hardworking, and strategic. As mayor, he compiled an extraordinary record of environmental protection. He took command of a struggling group of Los Angeles schools and worked ceaselessly to improve them. Field poll just a week or so ago had you running neck and neck with Gavin Newsom in the running to succeed Governor Brown, obviously. How do you see the campaign shaping up, and how do you see yourself winning?
Well, there's no campaign right now. It's true, I have been on a listening tour, and I'll tell you something. This issue of income inequality is an issue that comes up again and again and again. The compact we've always had was a compact that if we worked hard and we sacrificed, our kids would have a better life. I think people are concerned about that future. We're challenged by the fact that increasingly you see a concentration of wealth at the upper end. And when I say upper end, I'm not talking about the top 20%, I'm talking about the top 1%, and poverty on the bottom 40%. On a scale that we haven't seen. So, I mean, this is a crisis for us.
Mm-hmm. Father Boyle, your experience in dealing with poverty, inequality, as regards Homeboy's work?
Well, first of all, I have no designs on the governor's mansion. Let me just put that out there. I had a homie in my office the other day, a gang member who's trying to play by the rules. It was just lyrical, a list of things that he was trying to do, you know, and his employer was only giving him 8 hours a week. And he says, how am I supposed to pay my rent? Mm-hmm. And he says, I just want to put a diaper on my kid's butt, he says. And I want to feed them, and I want to clothe them. And finally, he said, I'm just waiting. And then he stopped, and I said, what are you waiting for? And he started to cry, and he said, I'm waiting for the last to be first, he said. Unless we believe that we belong to each other, no kinship, no peace, no kinship, no justice, no kinship, no equality. How can we stand in awe at what the poor actually have to carry rather than stand in judgment at how they carry it, how they proceed? You know.
Bob, I don't envy anyone ever having to go after Greg.
Yeah, thanks. It's kind of like following Stevie Wonder at the Apollo Theater.
All right. Could you talk a little bit about the special burdens that fall on people who are poor with respect to their health?
Yeah, the first thing I would say, I'm running for governor.
I guess I'm the only one that hasn't declared.
The single most powerful predictor of your life expectancy is your zip code. You know, tell me your zip code and I'll tell you statistically, within some reason, how long you're going to live, right? And so that's how powerful the forces of neighborhood and community are, and they're structural. If we're going to lead the battle on inequality, whoever's going to lead it, and I hate to say this in front of an academic audience, we're not going to research our way out of this. Right? I mean, data is important. It's not going to get us there. And for those in the corporate sector, we're not going to innovate our way out of this.
Yeah.
We are not a killer app away from solving poverty. Right?
Why is California leading in poverty? We've got a broken immigration system. So these people are working hard, they're struggling. The face is a face of color, disproportionately. The demographic that is largely uneducated, that's part of why we have poverty. We're living in an economy based on intellectual capital. And if people can't read and write, they're not going to make it. They may not be from your group, but we got to care about them because of the kinship you mentioned. This problem is the biggest challenge facing America, but particularly this state, because we're the most diverse.
Are the people you're working with feeling that?
I guess I like the idea about we can't research our way out of things, and I'm always concerned about how we arrive at policy and how enamored we are sometimes of data. And I present that as a challenge to Blueprint because I don't know how we do it exactly. This is not to disparage research, but to ask it to do something different.
How do we reverse the damage of 20, 30 years of policies that have over-incarcerated us?
We had a youth group present to us their thoughts of a healthy community. Now, we had our thing, which is mostly around childhood obesity and gang violence and some other things. Their number one priority, we want you, California Endowment, to help us get rid of zero tolerance policies in the school. They're suspending our kids, and black and brown boys in particular, and that's the first step to the prison pipeline. And that, we had never heard that. Kids are right. That there's been a 430% increase in the number of incarcerations since the 1980, and there's been a 350% increase at the same time of school suspensions in the United States of America.
When you have large corporations, extremely wealthy and profitable corporations like Walmart, who hand over to their employees an application to apply for Medi-Cal, I don't think we have been as explicit about how corporations contribute to income inequality and poverty.
It is rather ludicrous that we're the richest nation in the world that spends more per capita in absolute numbers, and we have more uninsured than anybody. It doesn't make sense, and we all have a collective responsibility. So I don't deny that corporations should be part of the solution, because particularly when they're not behind the policymakers who want to make sure everybody has health care.
And there has to be a way to really, in leadership or galvanizers in chief, how do you get people to kind of care? How do you widen the circle of compassion so that nobody's standing outside the circle? And that's about hearts and minds.
We're going to have to lift and elevate our game around this issue of power, and voice, and stop kidding ourselves that lovingly rejuvenated minds in the corporate world and in the political world are going to come to our rescue. Okay? Thank you.
With that, thank you all for being here.